Hey everyone, welcome to Easy English Podcast with Emily and Michael.
Hi guys, we're really happy you're here.
Today we're talking about weekend plans.
Yes,
And I think this is a fun topic because weekends feel different for everyone.
that's true.
Some people want a very productive weekend.
And some people just want to sleep and do absolutely nothing.
Honestly, both sound understandable.
That's so relatable.
So, Michael, what does a good weekend look like for you?
For me, a good weekend has balance. I want some rest, some fresh air, maybe good coffee, maybe time with friends.
That sounds very you.
I know.
For me, a good weekend also needs balance. But I usually like a little more structure.
Yes, I was expecting that.
Not too much structure.
Sure.
I mean it.
Okay.
I just don't like when the weekend disappears and I feel like I did nothing at all.
That actually makes sense.
I want some rest, but I also want to feel good on Sunday night.
Yes, that feeling is important.
Exactly. If the weekend is too chaotic, Monday feels worse.
That's true. I think people often forget that weekend plans affect the next week.
Definitely.
So, are you someone who plans weekends in advance?
Sometimes, yes.
I knew it.
Not in a crazy way.
That sounds good in theory.
Very funny.
Thank you.
I just like knowing the general plan. For example, maybe on Saturday morning I want coffee outside, then some shopping, then maybe dinner with friends.
That sounds nice.
And on Sunday I usually want something slower.
I'm similar on that part. Saturday feels more social. Sunday feels more quiet.
Yes, Sunday has a softer energy.
Exactly. Sunday is for slower mornings. Maybe a walk, maybe music, maybe cleaning a little, maybe preparing for the week.
I like that.
What about when you have no plans at all?
Honestly, sometimes yes, but not every weekend.
Same.
If every weekend is completely empty, I start to feel strange.
Like you're wasting time?
A little, yes.
I understand that.
But if every weekend is too full, I feel tired.
That's the problem. Too empty feels bad. Too full feels bad too.
Exactly. Balance again.
Balance is really the main character of this podcast.
It really is.
I think one of the best weekend feelings is waking up naturally with no alarm.
Oh, yes. That is such a good feeling.
It changes everything.
Yes. Your body feels calmer right away.
And the morning feels more open.
Exactly. There's no rush.
Unless you made a plan for 9 in the morning, which I personally think is a terrible idea.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm not gonna lie. Early weekend plans are not my favorite.
I actually don't mind them sometimes.
Really?
Yes. If it's something nice, like breakfast somewhere or a small trip, I'm okay with it.
That's fair.
But I don't want every weekend morning to feel like work.
Yes, that would be sad.
Very sad.
What are your favorite weekend activities?
I like simple things. Coffee shops, slow breakfasts, walking around the city, bookstores, maybe buying small things for home, maybe meeting a friend.
That sounds very peaceful.
I like peaceful weekends.
I like walks, music, maybe a movie in the evening, maybe cooking something easy, maybe seeing friends, but not too many people at once.
That sounds very you, too.
I'm very consistent, apparently.
You are.
Do you ever feel pressure to make weekends special?
Yes. Sometimes.
Me too.
Especially when you see everyone online doing something amazing.
Yes. Suddenly it feels like every person is on a trip. At a perfect brunch, in perfect clothes, with perfect weather.
Exactly.
And meanwhile, You are at home, wondering if you should clean your kitchen or take a nap.
That's so relatable.
I think social media can make normal weekends feel boring.
Definitely.
But normal weekends are actually very nice.
Yes, I think that's important. A good weekend does not need to be impressive.
That's such a good point.
Sometimes a really good weekend is just enough sleep, one good conversation, fresh air, and feeling calm.
Yes, that already sounds like a success.
What is one weekend habit you really like?
Going for a walk without checking the time too much.
I love that.
During the week, I always feel time pressure. But on weekends, I like walking slowly.
That actually makes sense.
It helps me feel human again.
That is a very real sentence.
Thank you.
One weekend habit I like is cleaning my space a little on Sunday.
Really?
Yes, not a big cleaning, just enough to make the new week feel lighter.
I actually agree with that.
Good.
If my room is messy on Sunday night, Monday morning feels heavier.
Exactly.
So maybe weekend plans are not only about fun.
Yes, they're also about recovery.
And preparation.
And emotional reset.
That sounds smart.
It is true, though.
It is.
Do you prefer weekends alone or with people?
A mix. I need both.
Same.
If I spend the whole weekend alone, I can start to feel too isolated.
Yes.
But if I spend the whole weekend with people, I get tired.
I'm exactly like that.
I think a lot of people are.
Probably.
Maybe that's why the perfect weekend often has two different moods. One more social, one more quiet.
Yes, that's a really good structure.
Saturday can be more open and active.
And Sunday can be slower and softer.
Exactly.
I like that model.
Me too.
Do you ever make very big weekend plans and then cancel them?
Honestly, yes.
Same.
Sometimes the idea sounds amazing on Thursday.
And less amazing on Saturday morning.
Exactly.
That's so relatable.
I think during the week, we imagine our weekend self as very energetic.
Yes, like a completely different person.
A person who wakes up early, goes somewhere beautiful, sees friends, exercises, cooks, cleans, and reads a book.
Exactly.
But then real Saturday comes. And real Saturday person just wants coffee and silence.
That is extremely real.
Thank you.
I used to feel guilty when I changed plans.
Really?
Yes. But now I think flexibility is part of a healthy life.
I agree.
If you need a slower weekend, that's okay.
Yes. Rest is not failure.
Exactly.
By the way, if you enjoy listening to Simple English with us, don't forget to subscribe to Easy English Podcast with Emily and Michael.
And if you think this episode can help a friend with English, feel free to share it with them.
We'd really appreciate that.
Okay, let's talk about one more thing. Productive weekends.
Ah, yes. Very dangerous topic.
Why dangerous?
Because some people try to turn the weekend into a second work week.
That's true.
Suddenly, the weekend becomes a list of tasks.
Laundry, shopping, cleaning, meal prep, emails, planning, fixing things, answering everyone.
Exactly. And then it doesn't feel like a weekend anymore.
Yes, I think productivity is good, but only if it still feels healthy.
I agree.
I like doing a few useful things on the weekend.
Same.
But I don't want every hour to be controlled.
Exactly. A weekend should still have space.
Space is such an important word.
Yes. Space to think, space to rest, space to do nothing for a while.
And sometimes, doing nothing is actually very useful.
Definitely.
I think people often underestimate quiet time.
Yes. When life is busy, Quiet time is not laziness, it's recovery.
That's really true.
Do you like spontaneous weekend plans?
Sometimes,
That sounds careful.
because it depends on the plan.
Fair.
If it's something light and easy, yes.
Like coffee in 30 minutes.
Yes, that's perfect.
And what is not perfect?
A message like, hey, let's go on a 4-hour drive in 1 hour.
That sounds like my worst dream.
Exactly.
I need emotional preparation.
Same.
I think spontaneous plans sound romantic, but in real life, they need the right mood.
That actually makes sense.
What about weekend evenings? Do you like going out?
Sometimes, but not every weekend.
Same.
I like a nice dinner, maybe a walk, maybe sitting somewhere cozy, maybe seeing friends.
That sounds good.
But I also really like being home in the evening,
Me too.
especially after a full day.
Yes. Clean clothes, soft light, something warm to drink, maybe a movie.
Exactly. That is a beautiful weekend evening.
Very underrated.
Definitely.
Do you think people can enjoy weekends more if they lower expectations a little?
Yes, I really do.
Me too.
I think many people want the perfect weekend.
And then they miss the actual weekend
Exactly.
because they're comparing reality to a fantasy.
That's such a good way to say it.
Thank you.
For me, a good weekend is not perfect. It just feels right.
Yes, that's the key.
Maybe you had one nice coffee, one good walk, one real conversation, and one quiet evening.
That already sounds like a very good weekend.
Exactly.
Let's talk about Sunday evening specifically.
Okay,
I think Sunday evening has a very special feeling.
yes, it really does.
Sometimes it feels calm.
And sometimes it feels a little heavy.
Exactly. That quiet pressure before Monday.
I know that feeling.
What helps you on Sunday evening?
A few simple things: cleaning a little, taking a shower, preparing clothes, maybe writing a short plan for Monday.
That sounds good.
It helps me feel less chaotic.
For me, music helps. And putting things back in order a little.
Yes, order helps the mind.
That's true.
I also try not to make Sunday evening too negative in my head.
What do you mean?
Sometimes people treat Sunday evening like the end of happiness.
That is dramatic. But yes,
I try to see it more gently. Like, okay, the weekend is ending, but that's normal. Life has rhythm.
that's actually a healthy way to think.
I think so.
I sometimes make tea on Sunday night and just sit quietly for a little while.
That sounds lovely.
It helps me close the weekend in a calmer way.
Yes, I like that idea. Closing the weekend instead of losing it.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
What would be your ideal weekend this month?
Honestly, something simple. A slow Saturday morning, coffee outside, a little shopping, a nice dinner, then a quiet Sunday with a walk and a good reset for the week.
That sounds very balanced.
What about you?
Sleep a little more, go for a long walk, listen to music, maybe meet one friend, maybe watch a good movie, and not feel rushed.
That sounds very peaceful.
I think peaceful is my favorite weekend word.
Mine too, actually.
So, maybe the lesson is this. A good weekend doesn't need to look exciting. It needs to feel good.
Yes, that's exactly it.
And feeling good can be very simple.
Very simple.
Rest, fresh air, a little movement, maybe people you like, maybe time alone, maybe good coffee.
That is already enough.
Enough is a powerful word.
It really is.
If someone listening feels pressure to have amazing weekends all the time, what would you say to them?
I would say this: Stop trying to make every weekend impressive. Try to make it honest.
Wow, I like that a lot.
I mean it. What do you actually need? Rest? Fun? Silence? A walk? Time with someone? Start there.
That's really good advice.
What would you say?
I would say, don't compare your weekend to someone else's highlight reel.
Yes, that's a big one.
Your real life is allowed to be simple.
Exactly.
And simple does not mean bad.
Not at all.
Sometimes simple is the best thing.
Definitely.
So, Emily, what's one plan you'd like for this weekend?
A long coffee and no rush.
That sounds perfect.
What about you?
A walk with music. Then maybe no plans for a few hours.
Very realistic.
Very important.
I support that. So that was our conversation about weekend plans.
Thanks for spending this time with us on Easy English Podcast with Emily and Michael.
If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the channel and share it with a friend who is learning English too.
We'd really appreciate that.
And we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.